Hey guys, how are you today?
Hey,
Good.
good.
Hi,
How are
Ronnie.
you?
How you
I'm
doing?
great. Good to meet you. Thank you for the series. I'm riveted. It was really good what I've been able to see so far. I was wondering, when you booked the role, was it something that you ran out immediately and you said, I got to get the book and I need to read it?
Yes, yes. I didn't know about the book until I was in the process of auditioning, and I was just really itching to read it, but I didn't want to jinx it because I had already liked the role so much and was kind of attached. And I was like, I know if I read the book, I'm going to be more attached, and then I'm just going to be heartbroken if I don't read this because I know what's going to happen. So the minute like I walked out of the casting office and I went to a bookstore and bought the book and read it a day and a half and just was, beyond my expectations what I felt when I read the book.
It's really, these characters are fantastic. And can you guys see me okay? Yeah, we froze for a second there. Cooper, I want to ask you because here you guys are, you're playing high school kids. You're obviously not high schoolers anymore, but did it kind of bring you back to the day? Because I really hope that you guys weren't treated like this, like these guys.
Very different circumstances for sure, but there were similarities, and it did kind of bring me back. I mean, I graduated a few years ago, and to kind of be thrown back into a high school situation, it was pretty surreal. But also like school in Australia was quite different at the same time, and we wore uniforms, and we
Right.
didn't have lockers, and the hallways were totally different where I went to school. But I think the same sort of aspect and idea of high school was the same, and like be thrown back into that was crazy. It was strange, but cool to explore.
Yeah,
Very cool to explore.
but it did certainly bring you back
Yeah,
into similar circumstances. Of course, not the murder mystery part of it all, but
Yeah.
doing scenes with like like the actors who play my parents would remind me so much of like the fear and the respect you have of doing something wrong and getting caught by your parents,
yeah,
and
Right.
the and like the high stakes of even the smallest circumstance when you're 17. It's just your whole world revolves around it. So that was very, very much fun to get to draw from like experience and pour it into this project.
yeah. Even
Yeah. Go
well,
ahead, Cooper.
even like the small thing of like carrying a backpack again, like a school
Yeah.
backpack, and like books as well, and standing doing scenes with you by like the lockers,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to that the whole backstory, of course, to this show is you've got a guy who is outing his friends, his classmates, whatever, on this cowardly blog, and he's just being really mean, and it's just awful. And I thought about it as I was watching it because I go, thank God my boys are a lot older and they didn't have to go through that in high school. But you look at kids who are obviously going to be watching this series, and sadly, a lot of them will probably relate to cowardly bullying on the internet. So, Marianely, I wanted to ask you what you thought about it, and as you guys were shooting this, because you want to bring out a message. I think at the end of it, it's a fun show. I mean, it's a show and it's entertainment, but it still has that underlying thing, that I think is important.
100%. And thank you for that question. Just going off of Mark, who plays Simon, and I remember him saying one of the good things or, creatively fun things for him about playing Simon was that Simon is a person who has been bullied for a long period of time. And then at some point, he just becomes the bully as a consequence of that. And then gets to be the bully through social media, who I think is like one of the main characters in this show. And I think it's great to create a conversation about it because like you said, you have social media that can be a tool but like so misused and almost people don't really stop and think sometimes the consequences of you commenting
Mm.
something about someone else or how that could affect the person. So really seeing a heightened state of that and the use of that in this show and what it could bring and or mean in someone else's life. I hope creates some conversation and makes us all think about how we want to use social media moving forward, because we can see,
Yeah.
what it can create.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cooper. I mean, you both have high profiles, on, you've got to, I think that you have to be careful when it comes to social media. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think there's like, there's got to be an element of privacy. I think you can't put it all out there for people to see. And I think even on social media today, it's like on Instagram, people put up the best parts of their life, and you don't see the real them kind of thing. Everybody goes through challenges in life and has tough times and the good times as well. And so it's kind of a misconstrued, idea or version of someone. And I think in the show, you kind of see that too, that like a lot of people are presenting, not their true self. And I think even through, as the story goes on, we do see these characters kind of break that mold and drop their facade, and we do learn to see their true self, which is so cool.
Yeah, and I think the tricky thing with social media is that sometimes you feel like you're not held accountable for what you write, and so some people even can do it anonymously. But just stopping to think that what you're writing is to a person, no matter if it's a high-profile person or not, with feelings and lives and struggles. It's something that we all have to reflect on and hopefully just do better.
Yeah, and despite the darkness and everything of the show and everything, you guys must have had the best time shooting this. A, you were in New Zealand. B, it's a great group of friends. I can't imagine that the bond didn't, extend to after the show was finished.
Well, I mean, yeah, and what's so amazing about this show and these wonderful people is that we've known each other for the past 2 years. We started this journey in September of 2019. So over 2 years we've known each other for, and it was a blast to have the opportunity to work with such incredible people, incredible actors, and thanks to like such a great team and cast and crew in New Zealand, and to get to shoot in a different country in New Zealand was just. It was just crazy.
Such an incredible experience. And starting from, Gail Pillsbury, who was the casting director, is the casting director for one of us, and Jennifer Morrison, that was involved as a director at the time. She directed the pilot, and the producers, they were really thoughtful about casting, and we owe it a lot to them, because genuinely, the first time we all met, we were together. We were supposed to have lunch, and we were together for 9 hours.
Yeah.
So it was an immediate friendship that formed and has lasted until after, finishing season 1. And it's just such a precious thing to get to go to work with your friends. And that's one of the most special things that I think people will see on screen and about this project.
Yeah. Lastly, I want to ask really quickly, Cooper, I'll ask you, why do you think it is when people are accused of something, even if they're not guilty, they act guilty? Because I find that in this show, right? Everybody's all on edge.
So when they act guilty when they're not as well, why they act guilty?
Yeah, why do you think that is? Why do we have that in us?
There's a sense of us that we don't want to skew too far from ourselves, and that being honest is something that we're taught from a young age to be as honest as we can. So when we're challenged in that, we're always trying to stay true to ourselves. But in saying that, I feel like people are untruthful as well. People do lie.
And the thing about the show is that, there's only, maybe one guilty person, but everybody may be lying.
Yeah.
So you do have stuff to hide. Everybody has secrets.
That's it.
That's right. Who's the best liar on set?
Hey, Chib.
Chib's pretty good.
Okay. Okay. Too bad I already spoke to him. I would have called him out.